What's up? In this video, we're going to be going over 15 tips to help you maximize the battery life of your Apple iPhone 17 Pro Max. Let's go. Welcome back to the video. My name's Sergio, and in this channel, I make life-saving tech videos. So if you're new here, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell while you're down there. All right, let's jump right into it. So in this video, we're going to be going over 15 tips and tricks to help you maximize the battery life of your Apple iPhone. Keep in mind, you may not want to use all of these tips because this will limit, the features and functions of your iPhone. So what you may want to do is you may want to just pick and choose a few of these that you may want to implement into your daily life so that you can maximize the short-term and long-term battery life of your iPhone. So let's jump right into tip number 1. So tip number 1 is to enable dark mode. So dark mode is a setting which displays everything on your screen a little bit darker, and especially your settings, and saving your battery over the short term and in the long term, because brighter colors actually drain your battery faster. So if you use dark mode, it does help your battery out a lot. And how we enable or disable dark mode is by going into settings, here going down to display and brightness. And the first thing you'll see is appearance. You have the light mode feature or dark mode. I personally like dark mode. And dark mode does help my battery in the short term and in the long run. So number 2 is to accordingly adjust your screen brightness. So you can swipe down from the top right hand corner of your screen, and here you will notice your screen brightness. Here you can manually adjust it. I suggest to most of the time keep it below the middle. And at night, I put it all the way down. The other thing we can do is we can tap and hold on the brightness icon here. And here we can also enable True Tone and Night Shift as well. Okay, so here we're going to go ahead and schedule the night shift settings. Okay, here we're going to enable scheduled. And here we can select the times where we want night shift to start. So we can set this to like maybe 11 p.m. And yep, 7 a.m. is fine. Let's go back. And there you go. So what this will do is that it will activate warm colors when night mode is activated. The warmer the colors, the more it will preserve your battery in the long run, and also the better for your eyes before you go to sleep. So moving on to tip number 3. And tip number 3 is to turn off always on display, because having always on display on like this, which comes standard on the iPhone, does drain your battery a lot more since it has to use energy to always display the screensaver here and the time and date. So how we disable always on display is we go to settings. Here in settings, once again, we go to display and brightness. Here we're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to notice towards the bottom here, always on display. Let's go ahead and select it. And it's going to be the option right here. We can go ahead and turn that off. And there you go. Now when you lock your iPhone, the screen will completely black out and save you tons of battery. Okay, the other thing I suggest also here in display and brightness is go to the auto lock setting and make sure that 30 seconds is enabled. Okay, because if you have any longer time frame, it will take longer for your phone screen to dim out, and that will obviously drain your battery more in the short term and in the long run. So tip number 4 is so that you can show your battery percentage. Okay, it's good to know your battery percentage, so that way you always know, how much battery is left, if it's time to charge it or not. So how you do this is you go to settings, go to battery. Here in battery, it's going to be the option all the way at the bottom, battery percentage. And then once you enable it, you will always know the percentage left of your battery. So moving on to the next tip, and this is to enable adaptive power. Okay, adaptive power will be in your battery settings here. You'll go down to power mode and make sure that adaptive power is enabled. So also adaptive power notifications. What this does is that the phone will automatically perform certain actions to help save your battery once your battery is below 20%. So it will lower display brightness all on its own. It will allow some activities to take longer, and it will turn on low power mode automatically when the battery is below 20%. So this is super useful. Okay, the next tip, number 6, is to enable low power mode. Okay, you can enable low power mode whenever you want. It doesn't necessarily have to get to 20% for you to enable it. However, low power mode will temporarily reduce background activities, and the phone will perform a little bit slower. The refresh rate of the display will be lowered. The brightness will be limited. A lot of things will be limited with low power mode. This is probably one of the most aggressive functions to help save battery in the short term and in the long run. However, this is up to you if you may want to use it or not, but it does make a huge difference. And when you enable low power mode, you will notice your battery icon turn yellow. So that way you'll know that low power mode is turned on. So moving on to the next tip, number 7, and this is to enable charging optimization. So you do this by going into settings. Once again, here in settings, go to battery. And here in battery, you will go to charging. Here we will see optimized battery charging. Okay, make sure that it is enabled. And what you can do here is that you can limit your charging limit to 80%. Research has shown that if you charge your phone to a maximum of 80%, this does, in fact, preserve the battery of the iPhones in the long run. Okay, so, this may not be a tip you may want to use because you may want to get the full battery of your phone. But if you do decide to use this feature, like I said, it's been shown that it will help your battery out in the long run as well. Okay, if not, what you could do is you can set this maybe to 85, 90, or 95% as well. And as you can see here, it lets you know, change charge limit. Keeping your charge limit below 100% helps preserve your battery lifespan over time. So moving on to the next tip, number 8, and this is to turn off 5G data. Okay, you do this by going into settings. Here in settings, go over to cellular. Here in cellular, we're going to go over to cellular data options. And then here we're going to select voice and data. Okay, and we're going to select LTE. Okay, it will be a little bit slower since 5G data connectivity is faster. But, this is another way to preserve the short-term and long-term battery life of your phone. And then the other thing you want to do is you want to go to data mode and here select standard. And there you go. So moving on to the next tip, and this tip is to limit your refresh rate, okay? The new iPhones come standard with 120 hertz refresh rate, and this does also drain your battery faster. If you want to disable this, you can go to settings. Here in settings, go down to accessibility. Here in accessibility, we're going to scroll over to motion. Here in motion, we're going to scroll all the way down, and it's going to be the option all the way at the bottom. It says limit frame rate. Okay, if you enable this, it will limit the frame rate. So the refresh rate now will be 60 hertz refresh rate. So the screen will perform just slightly slower, but this is another tip that will increase your short-term and long-term battery life. Moving on to the next tip, and this tip is to check your battery health. Every now and then you want to make sure your battery is performing at its optimum levels. Also, if you're buying a pre-owned iPhone, you want to make sure that you're buying a phone with good battery life left. So you do this by going into settings, go into battery. Here in battery, we're going to go to battery health. And what you want to make sure is that the battery health here is under normal. Okay, if it says anything other than normal, then you may have a problem. And also maximum capacity. Okay, the closer you are to 100%, the closer you are to your battery being brand new. So once you start getting below 80%, that's when people start noticing issues on their battery. So make sure you check your battery health as well, so you know where your battery stands. And moving on to the next tip is to check your daily battery usage. So you do this in settings in battery here. It will show view all battery usage, and checking your battery usage is useful because you'll be able to tell what apps you are spending the most time on and what time of day. That way you can figure out a plan to limit maybe certain apps or using your screen time at certain times a day, so that you can make better decisions on how to use your iPhone and get the most out of the battery on a daily basis. So moving on to the next tip, and this tip is a storage and usage tip. So it's good to use your iPhone within normal temperatures between 32 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's 0 to 35 in Celsius. That means that it's not good to use your iPhone in extreme temperatures. So either extreme hot or extreme cold temperatures are not good for your iPhone. That's the reason iPhones shut down when you put them in like a sauna or you leave them in your car and it's super hot. It shuts down to help it preserve the battery. Since while the phone is on, it uses more battery and the battery is hot, it shuts off so that it can try to cool down. But these shutdowns do damage your battery, and these extreme temperatures damage your battery over time. So it's good to avoid them at all costs. Moving on to the next tip, this is a storage tip. If you're ever not going to use your phone for an extended period of time, It's not good to let your battery drain to 0 and just leave it off, because if you leave it off for weeks or months, after when you turn it back on, the battery, they usually get damaged over time. The battery charging capacity will be less since you left it on 0 for so long. It's recommended that you leave your battery between 50 to 70% when you're going to shut it off to store it. So moving on to the next tip, tip number 14, and this is to leave Bluetooth and Wi-Fi off when not in use. So you can scroll down here from the top right of the phone, and if you're not going to be using Wi-Fi, just disable it, and also Bluetooth, okay? Because your phone will always be constantly searching for nearby Bluetooth and Wi-Fi signals when you're out and about. So it's good to just leave them off and only turn them on when you're going to actually connect to a Bluetooth device, or when you're actually going to be at home or at work and connect to Wi-Fi. This will also help increase the short-term and long-term battery life of your iPhone. And for the next and final tip, and this is to control your notifications. Okay, so you can either just keep notifications silenced altogether, which is what I personally use, or you can at least only show notifications when your screen is unlocked like this, okay? Because that constant bombardment of notifications also does drain your battery, because your phone will be having to turn on and make these sounds to notify you every time you get a notification. So you do this by going into settings, scroll down to notifications. Here, notifications, you can select scheduled summary off, show previews, never, and screen sharing off as well, okay? Like I said, if there's certain notifications that you must have, the other thing you could do is you can go to show previews and at least select when unlocked. Okay, so that way you will get the notifications when you're actually on your phone using it. Okay, so there you go. Those are 15 tips and tricks to maximize the battery life of your Apple iPhone 17 Pro Max. Go ahead and destroy that like button if this video helped you out. Comment down below and let me know which of these you will be implementing. And also, if you want to check out our 45-watt super fast chargers, which charge your phone 3 times as fast as regular chargers, check out the links down below in the description. That's all for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And as always,